We've had a long time association with Peanuts Wellbeing Sanctuary. Tracy Keenan and Mick Still started the sanctuary 13 years ago to break the cycle of abuse for children and animals. And it's my very great pleasure to welcome Mick to speak to us tonight.
It's all good. Yep. So thank you, Linda, for having me on. Apologies, Tracy had another thing pop up and she couldn't be here, so apologies. I'll just give you a rundown about Peanuts Wellbeing Sanctuary. Yes, we started 13 years ago, and we were up around Bringelly in Sydney, southwest Sydney, but it was a rented property, and very quickly found that there was a lot of animals that needed rescuing. But also at the same time, we opened our home to foster children. So we had foster kids, and we've learnt that the children that are raised in unfortunate, broken or abusive homes, they grow up to become abusers themselves because it's learnt behaviour. So the foster children that we had, being plant-based property, so all the meals were plant-based, everything that they learn is about the empathy and compassion towards animals. The property that we had, as I said, was rented. So as you know, that area of Sydney's been redeveloped and stuff, and we thought, what's going to happen to these animals one day if we don't have a secure place? So we invested everything that we had to get a property in O'Allen, which is about an hour from Canberra, 2 hours from Sydney, and about an hour and a half from Jervis Bay. So we're located just down near Goulburn in a rural setting. We've got 100 acres and over 107 animals directly involved with on a daily basis, but have over 250 because we have graciously had people say, look, we've got land, we don't know what to do. You know, we want to help. So we actually have animals fostered out to foster care places, which we, before anything ever happens with our animals, we go check out the properties, investigate the fencing, get it feed, you know, like make sure that the animals are going somewhere that is safe and not for anything untoward, if that makes sense. Like we care for animals and they get to live their days out with us. We don't want them going to the wrong place, because many people will put their hands up and say, oh, we'll take some chickens or some lambs. And you've got to make sure they're going to a safe forever home or foster place. So on our 100 acres, we've got pigs, ponies, horses, alpacas, dogs, chickens, cows, bulls, goats, one deer, an abundance of many different animals that we care for. Some of those animals being the sheep, because of the multiple breeding cycles that they use to get lambs. When they have the lambs through the winter months, the mums die and the lambs become orphaned. So we've got a lovely little network to jump on and rescue these lambs and spend countless hours bottle feeding them and raising them to make sure that they're getting everything they need to grow and have safety. And they get to stay here with us, or they get to be fostered out. One of the sheep that we have, Nellie, when the shearing contractors went through, they actually cut her Achilles. So she lost the function of her left rear leg, which trying to run, she broke. So we had our vet amputate that leg, and she is doing so wonderful on just her 3 legs. She's amazing. She's in with the lambs that we rescued that year, and she's kind of mothered those 2 little lambs as they've grown up. So it's awesome for us to sit back and actually see how all the animals interact with each other, and how their little society works. We all know how our human society works. They don't judge, they don't care. They just go, oh, there's, one of our kind, and they sort of just nuzzle into each other and just get on with it. So it's really good. Back to Peanuts. When Peanuts was started, and obviously it was to rescue animals, being vegan, it was, the empathy and compassion side of it. With the foster children, we learnt about them growing and having the abusive nature to continue that on. So our mission statement is to break that cycle of abuse. So we will hold a number of events, programs during the year where we have groups of children come out, and we sort of give them education at their level to help them understand empathy and compassion, and that the life that they've grown up with is not the normal. You can actually live a life with peace and harmony and get along with all other beings. And that's reflected quite well with the foster children that we've raised, and they've become of age and moved off into the world. And so that's, like, it's great for me and Tracy to actually see that, and we stay in touch with a number of those children. In the programs that we run, it depends on the level of abuse or the type of abuse that the children have been exposed to. So if we've had children that have grown up on their own and they may have had physical abuse, then obviously the programs that we run, it's non-contact. So some of the we'll do activities like team building activities, how to solve problems, and relate that to animals, so they can see that everyday life, the animals go through it as well. And as we go around and meet all the other animals, the children hear their stories in a child-friendly manner, and those children can actually relate some of those abused, neglected animals to their own situation. For instance, if one of the horses, it was Daddy, I want a horsey. When she became a teenager, she got interested in boys, so she never rode the horse. The horse was neglected. Honey, her name was. She was a blonde Palomino, and because the father hadn't connected to the Honey, he just used to grab out a big stick and a whip and just flog her to make her do what he wanted to do. So when you say that to the children, you then have other children realize, well, hang on, my parents used to belt me or smack me or hurt me. So they can then see how much care and love that Honey receives, and they start to feel the empathy and compassion for Honey, but then they also relate it to their own life and go, well, I don't want that abuse. I want to, not be hit and smacked and things like that. So then they're actually driven to want to make that change themselves, which comes back to our mission statement of breaking the cycle of abuse. We also go to correctional centres, youth correctional centres, where we take some of our animals up, and then the teenagers that are in the youth correction centres get to interact. They hear about what we do and how that can help them. Some of those children get really excited and attached. Some of the children, they've just block it out. They're set their path. They won't change, and some of the kids will. A story on that was we went to one of the correctional centres and we took Sean, our big ram, and Billy, one of our goats. Some of the children were scared of the goat because it had horns and they didn't know how to react. So we teach them how they can touch the animals, you know, feel them, and they get time to connect. Well, this young boy, he come up to me and he was all macho and tough, and he was like, "Oh, I was a butcher on the outside as an apprentice, and oh, there'd be some good cuts of meat on this sheep, you know, it'd be really good." So I started talking to him about, you know, why Sean is in our care. He was abandoned when he was young. He could have died. We care for them, and this young boy started stroking his head, and Sean actually nodded off. And the boy was kind of shocked that, oh my gosh, I put this sheep to sleep. So he started asking me, you know, like, so why do you live out in the bush? And I explained to him that, you know, I've lived in the city and I prefer the quietness and serenity of the bush where it's less stressful, and that I'm an ex-military person, and during my time I've seen some things that I don't want to remember. So by living in a bush setting and being around animals, that's very calming for me, and I know that I'm doing something powerful and strong to help the ones that can't help themselves. In the 10 minutes I spent with this boy, his whole attitude changed, and he was like, "Oh my gosh, I don't want to be a butcher anymore. I don't want to hurt these animals, but I feel like I'm just stuck in a cycle. Like I just don't know what to do." And I said, "Well, you know, you need to be able to talk to a therapist or a counselor to be able to share your thoughts and how you want to change where your path in life is going." And we never get to hear or get follow-ups on how they actually go under the Privacy Act. But I'd like to think that boy went and actually seek some assistance and has managed to change his path in life, and is going to make a better choice to live a life where there's no cruelty or abuse. We actually, and there's another story I'd like to share, is one of the events programs that we run, we actually had a boy that came with a carer, a caseworker carer, as they were highly abused children. So it was kind of almost like a one-on-one situation with the child and a carer or caseworker. And this child wouldn't talk. So when it was time to eat, he actually stood outside the house, looked in through the window, and we would point to the different food that was up to be served, and he would nod to his caseworker like, "That's what I want," or "No, I don't want that." And he sat outside on his own, he ate it. And then when we went around and did the meeting of all the animals, and he heard them stories, and he come back, and then we went into the theatre room, which is the old woolshed, and like talk some more, and some of them got to ask questions, and then we gave like little sample bags of plant-based foods, so they could see that you're not missing out on chocolate, you're not missing out on lollies or biscuits or anything. You can still have all this wonderful junk food, that you don't have to live that life. You can actually live a cruelty-free life and be kind to others. When it was time to leave, this boy actually walked up to myself and Tracy and said, "Thank you. I want to help animals." The caseworker was so stunned. She said, "That boy hasn't spoken for 6 months and he comes here for one day and he's getting to talk." That's just the impact and excitement that me and Tracy get out of doing what we do, to be able to talk to the children at their level and share stories of animal abuse, and let them know that empathy and compassion is the way to change your path in life, and you can live a better life. So that's just some of the things, and it always gives me chills when I talk about that one, because this caseworker It was so just like, oh. And then we did get a report back from that caseworker that when that child went back to the foster home he was in, he actually said, I want vegetarian sausages. I don't want to have meat sausages. And sometimes that can upset the apple cart, but as far as we're aware, those foster parents actually gave the boy his wishes and just started serving vegetarian food. So that's one of the great stories that we can tell. Obviously, we can't give the names and stuff like that, but it's just awesome. Like, we just love what we do. The animals need our love and care. And when we can see that we can make a difference in some children's lives for them to grow up to be better people, that it might not happen in mine and Tracy's lifetime, but that child, when he gets older and has his own children, he's going to bring those children up where he knows that there's a better way in life, not to be abusive or, you know, tormentive in that. So that's why we do what we do, and we love it with such passion. On another note, we've, you know, with lockdowns and things like that, it did get a bit hard because we would organise events and get the funding to run it, and they'd be cancelled at the last minute because either the volunteers that were bringing them out got COVID or some of the children got COVID. So the events that we set up were canned very last minute, which is, it's sucky, but it does happen. So we've been ramping up for a little while, and we're getting more and more groups through. We also work with New South Wales Police, especially in the Newtown, Marrickville area up in Sydney. And every year they get funding from the New South Wales Police, and they pick 10 to 12 children that come from bad homes or are actually foster children at schools in those Newtown, Marrickville area. And the 10 to 12 children that show the most advancement or the most positiveness that year, they get chosen and they come down to Peanuts, and the police officers all come with them, and we have our activities, and the kids have an absolute ball. And it's quite interesting to see the police officers when they come here, because they have their, you know, their firearms and things like that, and they're all nervous, like, oh, what's going on? Are the children going to run away, misbehave? When they see that we're on 100 acres in the middle of the bush, they all start to relax. And then, of course, it's all a barbecue of plant-based sausages and salads and pastas and obviously some lollies and some fruit and stuff. And the kids just have an absolute ball. And they go back and then they give us a report back. And yeah, they love it. And there's certain officers that keep volunteering to want to keep coming again because they love it so much. And then you get some officers that'll be like, oh, I don't want to do that, and they never come back. So it's actually wonderful. And exciting news for us most recently is that both myself and my partner Tracy, we both work, so we can contribute a lot of our we sort of juggle our work around Peanuts. But I'm a carpenter, so I'm able to get loads of different recyclable, building materials that I can recycle to build shelters and different things for the animals. That we've managed to save some money, and we actually brought one of those 2-bedroom container homes, which is now fully set up, so that now we can have families, and in the near future it'll be fenced off separate so people can bring their animals, and you know that you can be on your own. You've got your own kitchen, you can have a little campfire outside, sit under the stars, but still come around with us and meet all the animals, hear their stories. And then some of the animals you're allowed to stay or go back out into those paddocks and interact with. Idea like the sheep or Bambi, the deer, the chickens. We wouldn't let people go in with the bulls, because although Nugget is a huge, gentle giant, and you can feed him a carrot from your mouth, they are naturally inquisitive, and although he's playing, we can't afford to have someone be hurt by his big horns, because he's taller than me, weighs 800 kilos. But yeah, that's kind of Peanuts in a nutshell. We love what we do, helping the children. We have some amazing volunteers that come every month to help us achieve the things that we do. And we are so grateful for them. They are lovely people. We're all on the same page, and we can rely on them so much. They're unbelievable. So sanctuaries like ours don't survive without volunteers, without donations to keep doing what we're doing. In closing, if anyone wants to know anything else or wants to hear more of those stories, we're on all the social media pages. We do put up different events, open days. We run cooking classes where Lasagna for Breakfast will come down, they'll host it, teach people to cook fresh pasta and meals, and then you come and meet the animals and you come back and eat your hard work, which is great. And yeah, so you can follow us online, you can contact us directly if you want to come and stay, donate, just talk to us and hear more. We're at the Sydney Vegan Markets every month. We've got a stall there selling Peanuts merchandise and things to help do what we do. Yeah, so if you want to know anything else, I'm here to talk, discuss more. Yeah, but thank you so much for allowing Peanuts to come and talk. Thanks,
It's been such an honor, Mick. It's just, I mean, again, I'm sure I'm not the only person who could listen to you speaking all night. It's just the most heartwarming, inspiring stories that you have shared with us. And while I've got you right now, I might, there's been quite a lot of chats coming through, Mick. Yep. Anne Greenaway, thanks for the wonderful presentation, very uplifting and inspiring. From our Alex, thank you for everything you and Tracy do, Mick. Jennifer Gearing, I've just found you on Facebook. Awesome. Boodle, to everyone, I'm so very grateful for this webinar and the guest speakers. Big thanks to Mick. Yeah, you've just captured our hearts, Mick. You've just, yeah, it's just so extraordinary, really extraordinary what you and Tracy do. And it's just, I think, if there was ever a case for cloning, we need you to be cloned and populate Australia doing your fine work for children and animals. What a wonderful marriage of vulnerable lives and the healing that you have brought to both lots of animals. And yeah, you're just magic. Thank you.
Really appreciate it.